He thought I would give up. He was wrong. A defiant voice echoes across a packed courtroom. Strive Masiyiwa, a Zimbabwean entrepreneur, had just stared down a monolithic government, challenging their iron grip on telecommunications. 5 years after being denied a mobile license, he refused to back down. This is the David versus Goliath story of how one man brought mobile revolution to Zimbabwe. Africa. A continent of breathtaking beauty, unwavering resilience, and untold potential. We often hear stories of struggle, of hardship. But beneath the surface, a new narrative is emerging. A narrative of African ingenuity, audacity, and triumph. A narrative forged by a generation of self-made millionaires rewriting the rules of the game. This is the story of one such pioneer. A man who dared to challenge the status quo, who refused to accept no for an answer, and who ultimately unlocked the mobile revolution in Zimbabwe. Before Econet, before the ubiquitous mobile phone became a lifeline for millions, there was only the state-owned telephone company. Imagine a world with limited communication, stifled opportunity, and a government determined to maintain its grip on information. This was Zimbabwe in the early 1990s. Strive Masiyiwa, a young engineer brimming with vision, saw a different future. He envisioned a nation connected, empowered by the transformative power of mobile technology. A future where even the most remote farmer could access market prices, where entrepreneurs could connect with customers across borders. In 1993, he applied for a license to operate a mobile network. The response was swift and unequivocal: no. The Zimbabwean government, under the leadership of Robert Mugabe, firmly rejected his application. They believed that telecommunications should remain solely in the hands of the state. Most would have given up. Many did. Resources were limited and the power of the state seemed insurmountable. But Masiyiwa was not like most. He knew that the future of Zimbabwe depended on access to communication, and he refused to be silenced. For 5 long years, he fought. He navigated a complex web of bureaucracy, political intrigue, and outright opposition. He faced setbacks, disappointments, and moments of profound doubt. Yet, he persevered. He challenged the government's decision in the courts, arguing that denying him a license violated his constitutional rights. The legal battle was protracted, expensive, and seemingly hopeless. But Masiyiwa pressed on, fueled by an unwavering belief in his vision. And then, something extraordinary happened. In 1997, after a landmark ruling by the Supreme Court of Zimbabwe, Strive Masiyiwa finally won his license. A David versus Goliath victory that shook the nation. But here's the hidden truth. The government had already given a mobile license to another company called Telecel 2 years earlier. So, Strive wasn't actually the first. He was simply the most tenacious. The story of Strive's tenacity, his refusal to accept defeat, is not just an isolated tale of one Zimbabwean entrepreneur. It's a microcosm of a larger, continent-wide shift. A shift away from dependency and towards self-determination. A shift where African innovation, African ambition, defines its own future. And understanding this shift is paramount, because the game has changed. For too long, the prevailing narrative painted Africa as a continent eternally reliant on external aid and investment. A place where opportunity was scarce and potential remained perpetually untapped. But that narrative is crumbling. Crumbling before the sheer force of African ingenuity. Look at Aliko Dangote. In the 1980s and the 1990s, European conglomerates were hesitant to invest heavily in large-scale manufacturing across Africa, deeming it too risky. Dangote, however, saw something they didn't. He saw untapped markets, a burgeoning population, and an unwavering demand for basic commodities. He built a $20 billion empire by doing what others wouldn't. By focusing on cement, sugar, and flour production, meeting African needs with African solutions. These are not just business stories, they are evidence of a fundamental power shift. An understanding of local markets, coupled with an audacious spirit, has proven to be a potent force. It's rewriting the rules of engagement, forcing established players to reconsider their strategies. This is why Strive's story, his battle for that mobile license, is so critical. Because it represents a generation of African entrepreneurs who are no longer waiting for permission. They are creating their own opportunities, building their own industries, and shaping their own destinies. And here's the kicker, it wasn't just about the mobile license. Strive Masiyiwa wasn't just after a piece of the pie. What he did next, after years of battling the system, changed the entire telecommunications landscape. He offered free shares of Econet to his employees. Wait, what? Free shares. So, what can we learn from Strive Masiyiwa's relentless pursuit? More than just business acumen, it's about understanding that no isn't always the final answer. It's about vision, grit, and a deep understanding of your environment, even when that environment throws obstacles in your path. Masiyiwa saw the potential for mobile communication to transform lives, and he didn't let bureaucracy or initial setbacks deter him. This playbook isn't just for aspiring millionaires, it's for any African with a dream. It's about recognizing opportunities, embracing challenges, and refusing to be silenced. It's about building a future where African innovation thrives. And speaking of thriving, you can rep the African story with our exclusive Pornoafric merch. Head over to pornoafric.com/merch.html, prices start at just $29. Show the world you're part of the movement. Now, who do you know who needs to hear this story? Tag someone who needs to hear the African Story Globe Show in Europe, Africa. Let's inspire the next generation of African leaders and innovators together.